Welcome to What Are You Even Talking About? The podcast where we talk a little bit about everything. Today's guest is Kesha Chanel Palmer. She is a certified abundant life coach, Amazon bestselling author, good speaker, good listener. She has survived gestation, bullying, divorce, infidelity, parent loss, child loss, pet loss, job loss, and overcoming people pleasing. In her book, I Feel Better Already, Your Journey to Self-Discovery and Self-Confidence has her Feel Better formula, her solution to healing from anything. Welcome. How are you today?
Fantastic, Mark. How are you doing?
I am doing great. It is a beautiful morning and I'm grateful to be alive. So we like to start the podcast with a question from the last guest without knowing who the next guest is. So they get to come up with any question they want to ask. Your question is, on a scale from 1 to 10, how comfortable are you with where you find yourself presently in your life?
How comfortable? I'd say a 7.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. It's not too bad, you're not doing too bad, but you could always be doing better. I like that answer. Okay, so we're going to talk about your book today. First, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got to where you are now, and talk about your journey?
Okay, so my name is Kesha, and I have been certified as a life coach for about 4 years now. And the biggest thing that I became a life coach for is because I recognized that after I got divorced and after my children left my home as an empty nester, I recognized that bullying and molestation, this different thing that happened in my childhood, that is what caused so many different problems with my self-esteem and how I felt about myself and how I showed up in the world. And and it took me about 25 years plus because of the therapy and coaching and stuff like that. My hope is to help people to get over those things a lot faster, help them see themselves a lot quicker, help them save marriages, because a lot of times they'll be in a marriage and thinking, oh, it's his fault. He was just change and do this. And oh, if she would change and do that. A lot of times people have to actually self-reflect. And that's what my book helps with, self-awareness. And my coaching, my programs, my books, self-awareness is my goal and my hope.
Awesome. I know in my own life, there's been a lot of trauma and a lot of pain, but that can be said for everybody nowadays. And there was, I had situations where teachers in my school were doing not so good things to me. And it traumatizes you. Like you go through these things and it becomes a big part of your life without you realizing it. Like you just don't understand it at the time, but later on it can have these big effects on your life. And it changed how I saw the world, and it changed how much I had faith in people. And it really caused me a lot of problems later on. I dealt with a lot of addiction and just a lot of trauma in general. How can we get past those things that happen to us? How do we work on ourselves and get away from past traumas?
Well, I'm so glad you asked that. No, but seriously, my book is called I Feel Better Already, Your Journey to Self-Discovery and Self-Confidence. And I think that is the biggest key, self-discovery. Because like I said before, a lot of times you don't realize, and like you mentioned, the traumas that you had, you don't realize that those different traumas that you had can really affect how you show up in the world the next time. And I've been doing this different research on different things and for my programs, and I found that 223.4 million people have had a traumatic experience. And what traumatic experiences do to you is they change, and you mentioned about your filter, it changes your filter. You automatically see the world in a negative light. And sometimes it's just for a short time, because some people are blessed. It depends on the amount of trauma, and it depends on how early the trauma happened to you. So like in my case, it was childhood. And I know that you mentioned that school, but I don't know if that was like childhood or like college, or it just kind of depends. But if it's
Oh, it was
delirious,
childhood. It was childhood.
so childhood, it takes a long time to get over that. But at the same time, but it could take a long time, but it also takes work because you could just, because they say, oh, time heals all things. Time heals all things if you work at it. If you don't work at it, it don't work. And that's just true because you can also just sit in that stuff and let it stew and let it, when it pops up again, it's like, dang, this is happening again. But one thing that God does is that he will give you that lesson over and over and over until you get it right. And so my book helps with self-discovery, and it has the Feel Better formula, which means, well, and my formula is there's 5 different things that you need to do to get over anything, to get past those different traumas and let go of those different traumas. And it's not that it happens instantly, it's not that it happens overnight, but it takes effort and it takes work. But the first thing that you have to do is acceptance in order to have anything. So it's a good thing that you recognize that it's what happened in childhood happened in school, what happened to you in school. Because a lot of times people don't know. Oh, and especially like I'm in the dating space. And I find it very, very interesting that one of the big keys for me, like with dating, I need a guy to recognize what happened in the previous relationship. You will be so surprised when grown people are like, oh, I didn't do nothing wrong. You have to have some self-discovery. You have to have some acceptance. In order to be healthy and move on to the next proper thing, you got to recognize what you did wrong in the previous thing, whether it's your job situation, you know, messed up with your job, or if it's your parenting or relationships or your finances. You have to recognize and accept whatever it is that you messed up at. Sometimes you have to accept that you did something right. You just don't like it. Like even like discipline, it takes a long time and you get right, constant stuff. But you have to accept so many different things about yourself. It's like, so you can sit yourself down. Hey, this is what it is. And once you get that reality check on whatever it is that's going on, you accept it. Shoulders squared, show head, you know, head up, chin up. It's like, hey, this is what it is, and this is what I'm going to deal with and do. And then the second step, you make a decision. And when you make a decision, it depends on what the decision is. So you can also make a decision to stay exactly where you are, because you can make a decision to stay comfortable. You can make a decision to just kind of cover up your pain. A lot of times we'll cover up pain with eating, excessive TV watching, with drugs. You mentioned addiction, with sex, anything to make us feel good in the moment. Forget drugs, like weed is like astronomical, and it's going to continue to be astronomical. People just want to cope and just want to feel better about themselves and about their life and about what's going on. We have a lot of stuff going on in the world. So it's like no shade to people when, you know, wanting to comfort, you know, and you can decide just to stay there and just to stay comfortable and float the coast. Or you can decide that you want to do better. You want to do better for yourself. You want to make a different decision. You want something a little bit more. And then you make that decision to do whatever it is that you choose to do. Because even indecision is still a decision. And after the decision comes, you have to release. You have to release all the pain, because when you make a decision, a lot of times you'll be like, yeah, I'm going to do this today. And you'll be really gung-ho, or you'll be really excited about it. And you'll talk to sometimes you talk to your friend, you talk to a confidant, you talk to a therapist, or somebody like, yeah, or a coach, do it. But then the next week, something happens. And he's like, oh, maybe not, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. I don't really feel like it, you know? And so it's just like, stuff is going to happen. It's just life, you like it, right?
Yeah.
And so after that, all kinds of the stuff comes up. And you have to release all those emotions that come up. You might have some shame about your childhood. You might have blame about past relationships, or blaming yourself. And definitely some forgiveness needs to be done. But in order to let go of all that trauma, is you have to release all the pain that comes up with it. And there's different ways that you can release. I release in a bunch of different ways. Breathing is really, really helpful for me. Tapping is really, really helpful. I find actually breathing one of the most, and actually I'm in a period of healing from a knee replacement. And what this knee replacement is teaching me, the pain is very, very real. Emotional and physical pain are very, very similar. And I'm in a place of healing from like all my emotions of childhood. And that's like a process, it's not like it just goes away magically and forever. You heal something and something else comes up, so it's just like, it just happens. And so the pain that I feel is astronomical. And there's no way around the pain. The pain exists. It's how I think about it and how I speak to it. I had a friend, because I'll say to anybody that this is the worst thing that I've ever experienced in my life, right? Because it's like I've had children and that hurt. I've had teeth pulled and that hurt. Mark shared about his knee being dislocated and that hurts. There's nothing I've ever experienced that feels like this. And I think it's just, even like the emotional things that I've endured, molestation for years, divorce, cheating, that hurt. But this, and I think it's because of the intensity, and then that it affects every single thing in my life. So I find that it's what I'm saying that blesses it. So when you say about, how do you release? You have to speak to it differently. And that's what I'm discovering in my life, that, this pain, and it's like, it was a little bit of delay today to getting on, just because I have to get stuff situated for my pain. So it's like you accommodate it, but it's also what you're saying to yourself is the biggest thing. Biggest thing. In that pain, what are you saying? Also, it's funny because my first instinct is to curse. I curse like, I'm not gonna curse here, but it's just like, and I thought about it, and it's just like, because God told me, it's like, it's what you're saying to yourself in various situations, what you're saying to yourself. And I was just like, okay, I can't keep cursing myself. I can't keep cursing myself. I was like, thank you, God, for getting me through. I'm grateful that I still have a knee, because people don't have knees, some people have amputations. Like, go into gratitude. It's just like, ah. So what you say to yourself is so key. And the thing about it is, I know that it's hard, because sometimes it's hard for me. It's like, my first instinct is pain. Your first instinct is to bleh all of everything, It takes intention
Yeah.
to release, and it takes intention to speak life to something. It really, really does. Because we as a culture, it's the same way we go in comfort, we want to soothe with cake, we want to soothe with sex, and we want to soothe with TV, something to just distract us from the stress of life, right? But then that stuff comes right back. Comes right back. You don't deal with it. So that's why you have to release positive things. But there's the ways that I release by tapping, I release by breathing, I release by meditation, I release by prayer, I release by screaming, I release with laughter, I release with conversation, like with a good friend, I release with my therapist. I haven't done a support group in a really long, but those are some ways that I release. And those are some different things that are covered in the book about releasing. And then the next step is to build up your confidence, because once you released all that, you create a clean slate so that you can have peace and you can have confidence and all that stuff. And that's why I was talking about speaking life into yourself and speaking life over that thing that causes so much pain. But it takes that intention. But that's why my book is so helpful, because it's got a step-by-step. So really helpful for you. After you build up the confidence, and then you fight to keep that confidence that's built up. Because the same way, we're having a really great conversation right now, and I got on my makeup, and Mark's got his great background, and we're smiling. This is great. In this moment, it's wonderful. But when we close our laptops, when we go to our jobs, or we go to whatever it is that we do next, how we feel about it, sometimes our confidence dwindles a little bit. That's why you have to fight to keep that confidence that you built up. It is very, very essential. So that's what you do. And that's what my book helps you do.
That's awesome. I have to get that book because I
You
have
have
an
to get
issue
that
with
book.
confidence. Yeah, I got to get that book. I hope my listeners get that book too.
Y'all get that book.
But I definitely have a problem with confidence. Like, I went through a deep psychosis for years, and I just came out of it about 5 years ago. And that's what I've been doing, is basically, going through all the pain that I went through as a child into my adulthood, I dealt with it. Like I literally would, my way of releasing it was I would walk around on my porch in a circle. And
Mm,
if I walked counterclockwise, it was me going back through my past.
mm.
So like I would walk and walk and walk until something would spark in like in my brain, and I would stop. I would process that feeling and go through that memory and then release it. And then I would keep
Yes.
walking. And if I kept walking and counterclockwise, then I went through more past trauma, went through more pain. And then I'd stop. And I'd be like, that happened. Okay. We have to get over it. We have to do better. And then I'd keep going. And then I would say, okay, I've gone backwards long enough. Now it's time to move forward. So then I went clockwise. And then I
Yes.
moved myself through that clockwise. And I was like, okay, these things happen, but we're past them now. And well, what are some good things that are going on in your life? And I was like, my son was born. Then, at the time, my daughter was just born. And so I was like, okay, good things, good things. I was working on getting back into school. I had just started to draw for the first time in my life, like about 5 years ago. I wanted to learn how to draw, so I went to the store and bought me a bunch of different art supplies and just started learning how to draw. And it went from terrible to now I can see what I'm trying to draw. And like I put so much effort into getting those things that I wanted and getting those things that I needed for myself for therapy. Like I went and started taking medication again because I'm diagnosed schizoaffective and severe depression. So that's also has its toll on me. And I worked through that and I was in a deep psychosis. And it had been for years, but I knew I was in a psychosis, which helped me get through it. And everything that I had learned from childhood, and as far as like mythology and religion, theology, uh, books I had read as a child, stuff I was interested in, I let that fuel me into getting past all the stuff that was stopping me in my life. And now today, like I'm back in school, every day, like something might come up and I'm like, okay, let's deal with that. I deal with things far better. I have learned so much in a short amount of time. Well, it's 5 years, but still a short amount of time. And it helped me move past a lot of stuff. But I have an issue with self-confidence. I was just telling this to somebody yesterday, actually. I had a meeting and it was about coaching because I do coaching as well. And I was like, I have a problem with self-confidence. I was like, I come off not confident when I'm trying to speak, when I'm trying to, explain my knowledge to people. I get real nervous, especially on camera, which is funny because I was an entertainer for a long time. I sang, I danced, I played instruments. Like that's what I did. I was always in front of people performing, and in front of a camera, it just throws me off. Like I will forget everything that I'll be trying to stops me. And I don't know why. And I was like, but you're in front of people all the time. Like you know how to perform in front of people. Not in front of the camera, throws everything off. And so I've been building on that and trying to build the confidence for this because this is something I want to do. And I love having interviews with people because I can talk to them about these things. And also it's therapeutic for me. I get to share my story and have people who are professionals in their field look at it and be like, that's traumatizing, which lets me know that these things happened to me and I got through them. And I think that was the biggest thing for me was the fact that I made it till today where these things are no longer a problem. And I also would talk to myself like I was talking to a 5-year-old, as far as I would let myself explain to me like a 5-year-old would. It would say, what's wrong? Well, this is not going right in my life, and this is not going right in my life. I'm not doing this and this. And it's like, okay, calm down, Mark. Just calm down. We're going to do about it. And then, I talk to myself as the child and the parent. And I found that helps a lot when I want to let out that emotion. Like it lets me get out that emotion and not freak out about everything because I'm a constant worrier. I'm a constant worrier. And I've been working on doing better about that. But it has shown me that once we can move forward from our trauma, we literally can do anything because there's nothing left to stop us from achieving the things that we want. So I think that's just amazing. Yeah.
So a couple things. I want you to recognize what you're saying. So you said that you've already moved past your trauma, right? Because you've worked through it when you were working off of this, right? Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and you said when you get past the trauma, there's nothing that you can't do, right? That's what you said to your audience. So that's what you're also saying to Mark. Okay. So I want you to recognize that you're already there. You're speaking that thing. You're already there. There's nothing that you can't do. That's what you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. And then the other thing.
I don't think about it like that.
I think you should, because you just said a whole mouthful, sir. I think that's a wonderful thing. Another thing that I heard you say was that I'm extremely proud of your acceptance, because you talked about you were diagnosed with severe depression and schizoaffective. I'm extremely proud that you acknowledge and you accept that. So many people are men, different races, not just Black people. People have that and don't accept it, and that they stay stuck in life wondering what's wrong and why they're happy, sad. You accept it, and that's a wonderful thing. So I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of that. Also, I want to recognize that you said that you had a problem with confidence now, with speaking to people, and you're surprised because you're an entertainer. I'd like you to change your wording, because what you're saying is actually not true. Because this is your podcast that I'm on, your podcast. You have this wonderful thing that you've been doing for a whole year, even if it's not every freaking day, even if it's not every freaking week. You have a podcast that inspires people, that inspires yourself. And you said that you have great people on here that are inspiring you and helping you work through your stuff. You don't have a problem with confidence. You don't have a problem with confidence. You used to have a problem with confidence.
Yeah, I need to.
But every day and every way, you're getting better and better. So that's what you have to speak, because it's what you said, that you talk to yourself. And the way that you've done therapy with yourself, the practices that you've done with yourself, who freaking does that? Not only are Black men, but people do not do that, Mark. So you do not have a problem with confidence. The devil is telling you psycho stuff. That's all that is. And then you also have that diagnosis. So continue taking your meds. And there is no shame. I was on meds for a long time. I was on Zoloft. Made me feel so much better, so much peace, so much relaxation. But I just happen to forget it all the time. I couldn't take it like an as needed kind of thing. And I would feel like, oh, it made me feel so much better. And it's just like, you can't just stop taking the medicine. So I was like, okay, so I got to get off it. I'm taking it today, I'll take it next week. And that's not very consistent. So, but yeah, but I mean, I am so proud of the practices that you're doing with yourself, with whether it's with a therapist or not, talking to yourself like, all this stuff is massive, man. So no, you don't have a problem with confidence. And I would appreciate it very much if you do not say that to my friend. He does not have a problem with confidence. He used to have a confidence problem, but he does not have that anymore. He is confident and he knows what to do.
I would agree with that. I'm also working on my wording, because I used to be a negative person.
Yes.
And I'm no longer that person. I've changed so much. So it makes it, I catch myself and I'm like, don't talk to yourself like that. Just don't do it. I'm like, but no buts. Like, so I work on it every day. It's a daily workout. And that's what I tell myself is, not everything can be solved in a day. It's gonna take time. And I'm a very impatient, I used to be a very impatient person. And
I like that.
That has, yes, I used to be a very impatient person, which made things difficult as far as not getting everything done that day. And it would stress me out. It used to stress me out so much. And now I've realized, once I realized that, it makes things easier to deal with. It makes things so much easier to deal with. When you're like, you have, as long as you're living, you have the chance to do better. So I really embrace that. I love to embrace that fact and work hard so many days. And I was talking to somebody yesterday and I was like, I don't know if this is the right, I've, if coaching is the right thing I want to do because I want to help people one-on-one. And I was just feeling really down about everything, just really down. And I feel better now. I feel a lot better talking to you about it because you have a way of being positive in the moments to yourself, teaching you how to be positive to yourself more. And I think that's something that we all need to do is speak to ourselves better.
Mhm.
I know I do.
Mhm.
So I'm working on it.
Wonderful, wonderful. I love it. You feel better already. Yay, the title of my book.
I do. Hey, yeah, I'm getting that book. I promise you, as soon as I get off this call, I am getting your book.
I will send you the link, sir.
And
The link.
yes, please do. Because I like to have the books of the people I interview because it makes me feel more, close to them. And I can, say, I wish I'd have got the book before the conversation today. I usually would have, but it caught me off guard a little bit.
I
I was
know.
looking at my calendar, was like, oh, and so I had to scrounge up today, but I'm glad that we're doing this because it's good. It's good. Let's see, what else do I want to ask you? What is something in your life that you feel you could work on more?
Mm. The way I speak to myself in the moment, because like I said, my first instinct is cursing and negativity, and also, yeah, because it's like, what was it? Okay, so I read Bible every morning. I won't say every. I'll say good, solid, for sure. No matter shadow of a doubt, 4 days out of 7, because I'll read something else sometimes. But he gives me a different word every day. And so what he gave me yesterday, because I didn't read this morning. What did I? I did read this morning. Oh, yes, I did read this morning. So this morning he gave me Job 23:10. And I shall come after all these trials, I shall come forth as pure gold. Right. And it's like a reminder because I shared like I had a knee replacement and the pain of it is really excruciating. And I'm doing not lives, but videos on social media to share about the healing, my healing journey. And my healing journey is emotional as well as physical. But I recognize that pain is pain, period. Emotional, physical, financial, spiritual. We could be hurt by different people in the church. Pain is freaking pain. And your first instinct to pain is, damn, why? That's your first instinct. And it just hurts. And you just express the hurt all over people. But it is how you speak to yourself and how you speak to the pain, how you speak to the situation, your faith. What is going to happen? Do you really believe that this is going to get better? Like if it's emotional pain from a divorce, child, or even a mental diagnosis, do you really believe that you can get better? Do you believe that the God that created you, breathe breath in your lungs every day, do you believe that he can help you get better? Do you actually believe that? Do you believe that your finances can get better? Do you actually believe that? How is your faith? And so it's the way that you speak to yourself. It's just so key for everything. But it's so instinctive. And it is so instinctive for us to react to pain with pain. We just say natural things like that to ourselves naturally, but it takes an intention to say better things to ourselves. And then there's levels to it. Because like I said, I pride myself on being better than I was, 10 years ago. And so that's part of, coaching, being better than 10 years ago and the person that you were. You can speak to people who are where you were, so I can speak to that person. Like I can, share with you. It's like, no, Let's change the wording a little bit, so you can see that in somebody. So, but mine now is just like, okay, I could believe these smaller things. Now I got to believe for astronomical things. Like I said, this is something else. But my God is something else. He's bigger, It's like, this pain is hard, God. This pain is hard, but you are bigger, you're stronger, you're better, you're faster, So it's just like, yes, thank you for blessing me. So it's just like intention. So much intention in how I talk to myself. So yeah, but pain will do that to you. It'll bring out
Well,
what's in. So that's why it was a little bit alarming that as a child of God in I won't say church. Yeah, I can say myself a church girl. And it's just like, man, my first instinct is to curse. Like, come on now. I've been doing this too long for that to be my reaction. So I was a little bit alarmed by that, but God's working on me. Yes, he is. So yeah.
it's always working. And it's interesting that you said Job was what you read today, because I was literally just talking about Job a few days ago. It's synchronicity. I like the synchronicities. And I was just talking about how, well, a friend of mine was talking about how that's his favorite story in the Bible is the story of Job. And because we were talking about how it says, the devil went to heaven, and we're like, that's always been odd. But he was like, that's not the point of the story, Mark. And I was like, I know that, I'm just being devil's advocate. And he's like, the story is about faith and having the faith amidst all of the problems you have, amidst all the pain that you're going through. If you have faith, great things will happen and you'll get through all of the pain that you suffer. And I was like, I know. He was like, but do you know? And I was like, I do know. And
sound like you got good friends in your corner.
It hit me. I got one.
That's all you need. That's all you need.
I got one. That's all I need. That is all I need. And he's a great friend. Actually, I had it too, because him and his girlfriend are my best friends. But he was like, that's all you need. I was like, well, how about this? We're having church right now, right? He was like, what? I was like, we're having church right now. So we don't have to go to a church to have church.
Right.
And a lot of people, when they think of church, that's what they think. They think the building, dressing up nice, going to church, especially, African-American families, like we're known for church. And we went every day when I was growing up. And so I don't go as much now, but I still try to have church in so many words with people I talk to, because it's healing. Faith is healing. And having faith in something can get you through things nothing else will. So if you even just have faith in humanity, it can get you through almost anything.
Speak, sir.
You can literally, faith will get you there. And I was thinking about how I thought my faith was waning a few months ago. And I was like, no, it isn't. I was like, you've always been very religious, or at least, in a theological way. Like, you always had faith. And my favorite story in the Bible, besides Job, was King David, because he was all about making a joyful noise unto the Lord. Like, he sang, he danced. That's what he was known for in most of the Bible, besides David and Goliath. Like, he sang and he danced. And I sing at the top of my lungs. My poor neighbors have to deal with me singing at the top of my lungs all the time. And I'll be dancing on my porch. People just be driving by, looking up like, I don't even notice them most days. And I'll do that for hours. And that's, how I get through things. Like, it's always been a part of me to do that in order to get through any type of pain I'm going through. Like, if I'm going through something, I shout. And, anybody who knows anything about, African-American churches, shouting is the thing we do. And that's what I do. And it helps me so much. It helps deal with the pain, because I'm not thinking about the pain in that moment. I'm thinking about glorifying God. And while I'm thinking about glorifying God, it's all happiness. And that's another thing I feel like we should do as people. We should think happier. Like we should move happier. And in doing so, will be happier. And I had a client, she was stressed out one day and just everything was bad, everything was horrible. The way she was speaking to herself was terrible. And I was like, what are 5 things that make you happy? And she starts telling me the things that make her happy. And it, snowballs into more happiness and snowballs into more happiness. And I said, now what are you mad about? And she was like, what? I was like, what are you mad about? And she was like, I'm not mad anymore. I was like, yeah, because when we're talking about happiness, we can't be upset while we're talking about happiness. The things that make us happy keeps us happy. So that's why, like you said, speaking to ourselves in a certain way really does change our whole mindset. So you think happy thoughts and you're thinking about happiness when you're going through pain or suffering in any way. It can help you release that pain. It can help you get through it so much faster than we would if we just sat there and talked to ourselves negatively. And I've had a problem with that in my life up until now. But it's so much easier now to deal with things because we talk to ourselves better. And it's what we all should do. It's the thing we all need to work on.
You're doing wonderful.
That being said,
that helps
I've
the
worked
nervous
hard.
system too.
I have worked hard.
You are. You're doing great because
Like
dancing and shouting, it actually helps the nervous system too. So it's just like, even though it just feels good, it actually feels good to your body, your nervous system. So yeah, you're doing really wonderful. Proud of you.
I had one of the voices in my head tell me while I was doing it one day, I was like, why do we do this? And it was like, because it's certain motions that we do while we're doing that. And it was like, this is why we praise. It's good for the soul and it's good for the body. Like you literally have to, like you're moving your body. So you're getting your blood flowing, you're getting exercise at the time. Everything is, energized, feeling good. And it's just like doing regular exercise, except you're also glorifying God. So it has a twofold thing to it. Like it just meshes so well together. And I was like, huh. And it was interesting because my psychosis was also my spiritual awakening. Like I saw a lot of great and terrible things. And I asked the Lord, I was like, I need Old Testament God. I need you to show me signs in a way that I can see them clearly. And I was watching a YouTube video and all of a sudden this video pops up and it says, say your name. I said my name. And it said, now take away each letter of your name slowly. And I did that. And it said, what is left? And I was like, I don't know. And it said, I am in big letters on the screen.
Wow.
I was like, ooh. And it freaked me out. And I was so excited all at the same time. I didn't know what to do. So I just sat there stunned.
I'm just loving
and
it.
It just shows you that God listens
He
and
does.
will show you the things you need to see when you need to see them. Because there was no reason for that video to show up. It was on YouTube. And I never watched the guy before. And it was just something random that popped up. It wasn't like I was watching a lot of stuff like it. It literally popped up as soon as I said that. And I just so happened to click on it. And it was just so amazing of the effect. So once again, faith is so strong and opens us up to far better. But we are running out of time. Kesha, thank you for being on the show. It has been a delight and a pleasure. I want you to come back on the show. We can talk more.
I'd love to come back on the show after
you
you get my book and you read some of it. And you'd be like, okay, on page 82, you said, let's talk about this, sis.
Yeah. Yes. Like I said, send me that link as soon as we get off this call. Yes. But how can my listeners reach you if they want services from you and all the good stuff? How can we get your book? All that.
Would you be able to put the link up? Would you be able to put the, like when you record
Yeah,
it?
yeah. Y'all put it
link?
up in my description and everything.
Okay, so he'll put the link up, but you can follow me on LinkedIn. I am Kesha Chanel on LinkedIn, and it's KESHA CHANEL. Facebook, I am Kesha Chanel Palmer. TikTok, I Feel Better Already, but I'm going to be changing that back to Kesha Chanel. On Instagram, I am Kesha Chanel, and that's how you can reach me.
Awesome. Okay, last question. What is the question you have for the next guest without knowing who the next guest is?
Mm, 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 mm. What was your rock bottom?
Ooh. Ooh. That's a ooh. That's a good one. That's a real
Yeah,
good
but get them
one.
talking.
So many things flashed before my eyes. Yeah, so many things
Couple
flashed
rocks,
before
couple
my eyes
bottoms.
when you said that. I was like, oh,
I had a
God.
couple rock
There was so
bottoms
many
myself.
bottoms. Me too. God. And they all just hit me like they were fighting. Thank God. Oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait. And I think that interview should be soon. I think got another one coming up soon. So thank you for being on the show. I
Thank you
like
for
to end
having me,
every
Mark.
episode with thank you for today, thank you for yesterday, and thank you for tomorrow. Always remember to question your reality, and at every end there is a beginning. You guys take care, and we will see you later.
Bye-bye.
And that wraps up another thought-provoking episode of What Are You Even Talking About? We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the discussion we had today. Before we go, we want to extend a huge thank you to our amazing guest. Your insights and expertise truly enriched our conversation, and we're grateful for your contribution. And of course,